Hello, welcome.
Hello, welcome to the Stream of Truth. I am Dr. Tassel Faith Shanebrook,
And I'm Sean Kelly.
and today, an exciting topic, we are discussing spiritual entrepreneurship.
Yeah, spiritual entrepreneurship and some of the challenges, I guess, that we've experienced with it.
Yeah, we're going to cover our challenges, our guiding principles that we've come up with through our experiences, and then some hopefully helpful strategies for success if you are considering spiritual entrepreneurship. It's such a long word to say, entrepreneurship.
It is. It is.
It's a mouthful. So, what should we start with? Should we start with maybe a little context of what our spiritual entrepreneurship has been, what we're doing, and then get into what we said we would talk about?
Sure. Yeah. I'm noticing that my microphone's picking up a lot of, I think, noises or something in the house. I'm not sure what's going on, but if it sounds bad, I apologize. I'll have a look at it for the next stream.
You sound okay to me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's you won't hear you won't hear what I'm talking about, but the viewers may. I'm not sure.
Okay. So, should we give just a little context on our spiritual business, what it is, or?
Sure. Yeah. So I don't even know what it is. I think that what we're trying to do is help people navigate their various areas of concern in their lives, and we tend to focus a lot on relationships. But yeah, our it seems to be our goal is to try to teach as best we can stuff that we've learned through our experience, and try to do that in a way that's useful.
Yes, exactly. It feels like we are just sharing our own learnings through our different, sometimes very challenging life situations and from a spiritual perspective. And I'll just say that for me, seeing my life from a spiritual perspective has been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
It's really helped me, I guess, not be so traumatized by it. Sounds very dramatic, but just to see the broader perspective of the lessons that my soul came here to learn. And although sometimes it's been very hard for my human, just to see things from this more optimistic, it's all serving type of orientation.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know how to teach or orient towards any of this if I didn't come at it from a spiritual perspective.
Right. Yeah.
This larger perspective of all is well, all is serving us.
Yeah. And I think there's a pretty important portion of it where, at least for me, where we're not necessarily on my side. I think Tassel and I both have sort of different, similar goals, very oriented towards the same outcomes, but we have some different ideas. I think a little bit around these things, but one of my goals isn't necessarily to reach the most people possible. There's a bit of an understanding that some of the stuff that we talk about isn't for everyone, really. And so that sort of, I found a lot of peace being able to trust in the universe to bring the stuff that we make to people that want it. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the right timing for them.
Right.
Yes, Totally. So, should we first talk about our own challenges in our spiritually focused business?
Sure, sure, yeah. What would you say is our one of our challenges that you want to talk about? I don't know if we have a list, but
Yeah. So I think for me, one of my main challenges just has to do with being in business. I don't have really any business background whatsoever. I don't come from a family who ran businesses. My dad was a college professor, my mom was a social worker, and I've spent most of my life in academia. And so the business world is really new to me. And there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. And I'll just say that the business side of things is not necessarily my favorite aspect of the work. I really like working on content, and I get super excited about ideas and workshops and courses and books, and because that's when I really feel spirit flowing through me. So that's what I tend to really enjoy. And the business side of things can feel scary, can feel overwhelming, can feel I'm not quite sure what to do, can feel, oh, we need to make a lot of financial investments, which can feel uncomfortable as well. So I'll just say, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for me. And then probably secondly is just figuring out how to harmonize with you in a business sense. And it's interesting because I think we've made amazing strides in harmonizing in our personal relationship, in our communication and understanding each other and unconditional acceptance and all those juicy things that we've talked about in our Namaste method. And then the business relationship, I still am kind of like, I'm not quite sure how to do it yet.
yeah, it's.
With you.
I think we're both exploring something that's a little new for us. In the idea of being, neither of us are in command. Let's say, like, it's. I think it's a new thing for us not to be either working and receiving orders from people or working and distributing our orders to others. So I know, like, I spent a bunch of time being a manager and having staff and doing different things. But this is a different thing. It's not like that. And so it's more of an equanimity. And it can be difficult to navigate because, on one side, we may want our partner to do something in particular or do something a particular way. And then they may not. And, it leaves us wondering if we're supposed to, what we're supposed to do about that, I think. Right. And, if anything. And, I think it's challenging. It's challenging to operate on something that's traditionally very 3D, like all of the most of the teachings and everything are all revolving around profit and working hard and your
hustling.
And it's all I don't know, most of those things don't resonate so much with me, and it's not that hard work is an issue. It's more like I think it just it doesn't really feel right to frame things that way.
Yes, this capitalistic orientation.
Yeah, or like, let's maximize profits, like those types of things that most businesses would consider probably to be their number one priority would be to maximize profits.
Yeah.
I don't see it like that personally. And so, but it can be challenging because all we really know and all we have really learned and all we've really witnessed as models was that type of orientation.
Yes.
So I think happens is we have these conflicts that come up that essentially are some of our older ideas around how this is to be, and what humans have done in the past that were successful. Those types of things are they creep into our mind, and we think, oh, I know Tony Robbins does this, or I know these other big names do that, and I've read all these books, and but I think the biggest challenge that I've had to remember is that we're coming from, at least in our business, we're, I think, trying to come from a different consciousness.
Yeah.
And so all of the applications of the previous thought modalities, like the previous ways of doing business, don't necessarily align. They don't necessarily feel right for us. But they don't necessarily not feel right either. Like there's still lots and lots of our bias and conditioning around how business is done here. And even the concept of currency is a really, really negative concept already. And so we're trying to work in this negative concept, but bringing positivity. So it in its nature, it's going to have a lot of confusing parameters to it. You can imagine just the concept. Once we came up with the idea of money, now someone has more money than someone else, and is now could quickly be seen as the elite, right? Before we had currency, we didn't have so much that type of thing. First, it started with barter, and then it turned into currency. But this idea of give me this, I'll give you that, transactional type relationships all come from that type of confusion of separation. So it's a kind of a darker paradigm that we're working within when we're working in currency. And so if we're trying to navigate that arena but spreading positivity and trying to be highest and best in that arena, it becomes weird to me, because I can't ignore what I see as unaligned, right? I don't know how to be unaligned, like if I'm or how to shift how I feel about something, or ignore, like, if Tassel brings a method up to try and do something, and I'm like, ooh, I don't like it. I don't know how to just let go of that in some of these things. So that's a bit of a challenge as well.
Yeah. So it feels like we're trying to chart a new path. And I think there are many amazing, very progressive, humane companies out there. But at the same time, I haven't yet seen a company's way of doing things as a model, at least for me, of how it feels like what we're trying to bring through. So I think we're just really figuring it out as we go. And most importantly, as you said, just staying loyal and true to what feels in alignment and not moving away from that at all.
Yeah,
as we do in every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, we don't really have a model, right? That, like, we don't really have an example of, we have people that are doing similar stuff.
Yes.
But, and we have people that may feel the same way that we feel, or that are trying to do some of the same things, but we haven't got yet to the place where we can look at what they did and model that at all, really.
Right.
So there are people doing the same thing, I'm sure. And then there are also some companies that are very progressive and humane, like you said.
Yes.
But, I think that some of our ideas of, like, what humane is, I still think there's a lot of shady things going on in a lot of those companies, even though
Yeah.
their goal is benevolent and a lot of things that they're doing is benevolent. There's just, I think, a lot of confusion in business because the nature of it implies very dualistic type of
Yeah, I
dealing
think
with people.
most businesses on the planet are operating from fear, and not necessarily love. That, oh, we need to do this because our bottom line needs to show this, and so that
Yep.
is my sense. Um, so we want to come from love. So maybe would it be okay to share some of the guiding principles that we seem to have come up with, even though maybe we haven't put them all into place yet? But what?
Yeah, we're still figuring this all out, and we thought it would help us as well to talk about it, and yeah, I think the first thing you said is our first guiding principle, probably, or one of the most important things, is to try to follow what feels aligned. Try, you know,
Yeah.
And it's challenging. It's challenging because sometimes things don't feel aligned, but it's more like we are just freaked out by it, so it might feel like we're scared to do something, and that might end up feeling not aligned, but really it's just our own resistance that we have to,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times our misalignment or our perception of misalignment is our resistance to that
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
But it's trying to discern when it's just that it's maybe an obstacle or a speed bump or something for a challenge for us to work through versus something that truly is not the way
Yeah.
for us.
And just to give an example to flesh out what you're saying, because I think it's a really great point, is maybe our podcast that we have had this intention to take the live stream videos that we're doing on YouTube and make a podcast out of it. And so to me, this feels very aligned. I get a screaming yes. And lots of people have very kindly given us feedback that, oh, this would be a great podcast. So
Yeah.
I think the universe is signaling us as well. Yet we haven't done it yet because I think of our own resistance to, we're not quite sure what we're doing. It's going to require us an investment of money, takes time, all those things. So so being very clear that, oh, this is really just our own resistance that we can most likely overcome.
Yeah. So that one's an easier one because it's clear to both of us that it's something that we want to do. There aren't parts of it that are like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very clear.
The only it's pretty easy that we can see that the only reason we really haven't done it is because there's some money and there's some other things that are a little bit just uncertain. It's a bit easier to like stick to the stuff we know and do that stuff more or something like that. It's a little easier for us to do that. But I'm sure that part of it is just trusting that when it's the right time, we will do it. We both sort of agree that this is the thing that we're going to want to do. It may turn out there's a reason we've waited, right? So,
and this really gets into maybe a second point,
right?
A guiding principle, and this, I'm not sure it has such a spiritual basis to it or not, but what I've really been understanding as an entrepreneur is, oh my goodness, there are an infinite number of things you could do at any moment for your business. It feels infinite. There's so many things you could do.
Yeah, and you don't have somebody just laying them out for you,
telling you what to do. So part of, I think, the mindset to be in as an entrepreneur, whether you're a spiritual entrepreneur or not, is learning, honestly, just how to block almost everything out that doesn't feel totally important on that day, and then just focus on what is the next most important step for us to take in our business and let go of all the other things we could be doing.
Yeah, and you can even, I think that as we grow and expand and evolve, it starts to become clearer and clearer, at least to me, that we can bring our perspectives, our spiritual perspectives, and all of that stuff into any endeavor. So all the things that we can sort of forget about spirituality or forget about unity or something when we're considering how to make the most money or how to properly market, let's say, a product. There's a lot of different things we can do. If we're launching a course, I could invoke angels and perform some angel magic rituals to request for perhaps some of the 72 angelic presences to help to establish or get the word out about a product. There are actually angels that are particularly suited to those tasks that can be invoked and stuff like that. So you could start to bring magic practice into the business that way. There's another thing is sort of remembering the perfection of you're on your path and it's perfect, and that also your business is part of that path. So if stuff in your business just isn't working, what is that telling you about yourself, right? Is that telling you about places maybe you don't believe in yourself, or there's a belief inside that's likely manifesting this, or there could be lessons there in struggle or resistance, or so you end up seeing the business. I'd like to suggest that you try to view the business the same way that Tassel and I talk about the relationship, as a vessel for spiritual evolution, and in that way you're always trying to learn about yourself through the business, and that is sort of the primary goal. Whatever the business does and brings to the world or doesn't bring to the world is like secondary. And so in that way your work becomes your living, and you at least for me, I don't discern much of a difference between like hanging out with my kids or working with Tassel. Both of those are the same thing to me. And so what ends up happening though is we can use those understandings and realize that, yeah, we're going to run into some challenges. The issue with the business, I find, is that it's around money, and money for us represents security, and it ties into a lot of our sort of root fears around our value and our security and our stability. And so it can throw us off a little bit, and we can fall into like older habits and like forget that all of this is a spiritual evolution that's happening. And, all of the stuff that's happening in the business is meant for your spiritual evolution, just the same way that your conflicts and relationships are, and all that type of stuff too. So remembering that and trying to like embrace it instead of fighting that. Some stuff's just not going to go well, and there's something to learn there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Huge screaming yes. I'm so glad you brought up this point. And just to summarize, so you've made two more points in our guiding principles here. So first, you were saying as point number 3, that we can bring in our spiritual practices to our business, like invoking angels and blessing our business and praying
Yep.
for assistance for our
creating sigils.
Yes.
You could,
maybe we can do another episode on that, because there's so many, almost like infinite number of practices and techniques.
Yeah, I'll only teach the formulas of magic. I won't teach anything beyond the formulas, because it's infringement. But yeah, we could totally teach about like how to make a sigil, or how to how to build on the formulas of some of the Order of the Golden Dawn, various other groups of magicians.
Yes.
That'd be fun.
That'd be really fun. And then the fourth point that you've brought up and their guiding principles. And I was about to say it as you were describing it, is yes, as an entrepreneur, your business is such a vehicle for your growth. And as you said, it really is the primary reason for it, for you as a soul. Like, oh, you're in this experience so that you are going to see yourself, see your shadow, and expand.
Yeah.
And the question I love to remember is, who do I need to become to bring my business to where I would like it to go?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just say, and maybe it might be fun for you to answer too. I'll just answer that question, and anyone listening, if it feels resonant, to maybe answer as well. I can see in myself that I'm moving through issues of perfectionism. I'm moving through issues of feeling overwhelmed by all the different things I could do. I'm moving through issues of becoming more of a leader, really to myself. And I'm moving through issues of taking action, of becoming more comfortable just taking action. And what was I going to say around that? Oh, and I would say the number one thing that sort of is an umbrella to all of this is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And we talk about that a lot. I just love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the umbrella to my life.
We talked about the other day, sort of presenting our Namaste method to other doctors, other therapists, or, that type of thing. And sort of the gravity of what that meant hit me. I'm not a doctor. I have no background in any of this stuff. And I realized, I'm going to actually be, it seems very likely that we will do something like this. I might be stepping into a room or a Zoom call or whatever with a bunch of doctors, kind of judging our work. And that's a bit, as a, what do they call us? Layperson? Is that what they call us? As a layperson, that can be a little intimidating. So luckily for me, I'm more oriented to being excited for that type of challenge. That type of challenge is like, oh, yay. Because I can kind of feel like most tasks are pretty easy. I'm lucky. I don't know if it's being a Pisces or whatever it is, but I've noticed that I get through everything pretty, it's fine. In relationships, there's a bunch of struggle and things, but as far as like tasks, like do a task, it's a little easy for me. However, because of that, I have this issue of tasks all feeling boring. Almost all of them are very boring because there's no challenge, and I have trouble finding the excitement to do a lot of the tasks because I'm bored. But in this case, with this situation, it inspires a challenge in me, and so I think trying to embody someone who realizes the value of challenge and then moving towards that is really good.
Yes. And I would say, I don't know if this is an additional point or just a tag on to what we just said, but this idea of feeling alive and enlivened, and often that comes, often we feel that way when there is a challenge, when there is also some fear. And maybe we've all had an experience of being in like a dead end job. I know I have, where it's the opposite feeling. It doesn't feel scary. Maybe it's pretty easy and you're comfortable doing it, but it's really boring and you feel deadened. It does not excite you at all.
Yep.
So, pick your poison.
Yeah, the creative principle within us, the divine feminine, basically doesn't get any passion out of repeating the same stuff constantly. Like just
even just having to work a set schedule, as a lot of jobs are. Oh, you must be in the office from 9 to 5, for instance.
Yeah.
And just Monday through Friday, 50 weeks a year. Just even to me, that type of monotony, and it's so rigid. I can't do that. And I do believe that our souls have all come down to incarnate for expansion. So if we are spending a large amount of our time here in these very rigid, prescribed from above types of environments, I think that can be very hard on the soul. And I think a lot of people really feel that. So just as maybe another guiding principle, to accept that on the entrepreneur path and the spiritual entrepreneur path as well, there will be challenge and there will be fear, most likely. And isn't that fun? Isn't that exciting? Because it makes us feel really alive. And it's almost like the soul within us is like, yeah, ooh, this is juicy. We're going to expand now.
At first, though, that uncertainty can feel just like overwhelming.
Yes.
There's I'd also like to suggest that there are people here that are, learning all these different lessons. Some of us may be very ill suited. I think I'm one of these people that I'm very naturally ill suited to business. I've spent a lot of time learning about it, and my knowledge in it is fairly good. I know how to do a lot of the things that need to be done in the business, but my personality is not so inclined towards that role or that type of expression here. I actually think that one of the things that I'm trying to learn is how to use my will to discipline myself more, to be more, to have more of a business frame of mind in some cases, or to bring that in when I need it and let it go. So I think that's sort of what I'm learning. And so it's challenging for me to, to worry about things the same way that other people see them. I don't see the world the same way most people see it. So I think we all see it totally differently. But
I think that's such a great point that you're bringing up in the guiding principles of spiritual entrepreneurship. Maybe we can make this number 6, is that for a lot of us on this spiritual path, awakening, ascension, all the spiritual stuff is so delicious and feels so good, and we're connecting to the divine and all that, which is great. But if we are running a business, there is a whole other side, this businessy side that we're developing. And I think that's what you're saying, that finding that balance between I'm in my spiritual self and all the woo-woo fun stuff, and then and being a business person too, like how to integrate the two. That wasn't quite what I meant exactly, but yeah, that as well. Okay. I mostly meant that my natural inclinations aren't so great for business. My natural inclination, for example, is to give things to people for free always. Right.
That's what I would prefer.
Right.
I get often am frustrated that I can't do that. It seems like I can't do that. I'm not sure that I can't. So that's one of the reasons that everything that we try to offer as freely as possible, and we create little products and little ways to help fund what we're doing. And we probably actually need to do more of that, right? We're probably too far on the free side. Who knows? But that's more what I was talking about, is my sort of natural traits that I've developed, or my natural inclinations are not to make a lot of money. I don't care about the money. So I recognize it has value and all that, but it doesn't do it for me. So my goal is just to try to speak to people. That's really all my goal is. And, the rest of it, whatever. I have trouble caring about the rest of the details.
Yeah. So this is a great maybe this is number 7 in our guiding principles, one's own orientation around money. And so for me, I can feel, and this has come through my guidance loud and strong, that my path on this planet in this incarnation is to learn how to make money, and is to hopefully help others, and maybe particularly other female entrepreneurs in that area. And I came from a space of kind of thinking, oh, money is sort of dirty and not spiritual and all of that. So that's been an interesting journey for me, to come into an acceptance of money, and really embracing what feels like my path here is to learn how to be abundant financially as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So any one of us listening might fall anywhere on that spectrum. They might be more on your end of it. They might be more on mine, or somewhere in the middle. So that's sort of interesting too, just for each one of us to tune into our guidance and what we can feel is our mission, where we do land on the
and
spectrum.
A lot of times, so if you're attracted to someone like me and Tassel are to each other, you're going to have a lot of these little areas where you're totally different. That's what builds attraction. It's basically like magnets. So our energy, we could basically thought of as a giant magnet with different energies, and where she is further polarized one way and I'm polarized the other way, that's where the magnets pull together. Because if we recall that the purpose of all relationship is soul recovery, if you're far this way in any trait of any type of characteristic, you're going to be attracted to somebody that's over here. Maybe they're just friends or whatever. It doesn't have to be a sexual attraction. I just mean you're going to find something about them is drawing you to what they're doing. You're going to pay more attention to what they're doing. You're going to observe them a little more. They're showing you aspects of yourself that you don't fully get yet. Like you're not really there yet. Because if you recall that you are both, right? You're the whole spectrum, and it's your choice really where you're at. So the soul is sort of trying to learn all of that, and so you can use your partner as a guiding post to notice, basically, especially if they do little things that are like a little irksome, or anything like that. Like there's a comment that they make, or they say things that are a little bit. It's because it's a part of you that you're not sure that you can orient yourself that way. And so they're triggering that part that's that wants to say, no, I'm a free flowing hippie, right? When the tassel's like, we have to get on a schedule, and then I'm like, so, but if she says that and I'm like, oh, that feels bad. That's because I don't like schedules, right? So that's why I'm feeling that. And it's a choice. It's a choice to like expand or to just let it go. So I think what I'm trying to do, for example, is come more to the other side of things, where I can choose when I want to be more classically business minded, right? embody that energy and be like that when it's appropriate, and then release it. And so I actually think that that's kind of what I'm working on with it. So for me, it has not really anything to do with success of the business, or whatever anyone would term success of anything. I'm basically just learning how to mold what I would call this the discipline of the personality. This is about choosing and inheriting the traits that you wish to embody at the moment you wish to embody them, and then being that embodied self in the world. And we do this automatically, constantly, so we know we're different people when we're with our children, or we're at work, or we're at school, or we're a different person. All we've done is we've embodied the traits that we find agreeable for that moment. And so I think what I'm learning is how to literally craft and choose those personas or personalities and their appropriateness, and consciously bring them in, instead of just letting what feels natural, which the natural feelings usually are around comfort and around keeping everyone, happy with you, and a lot of external pressures. So we break out of that shell, and then we start to be able to so the reason I say all of this is just because if you feel like, oh, I just don't care about money, that's not true. That you're in a state now that embodies a self that doesn't care about money, but you're perfectly capable to just shift that and care about money. It's just a choice. And so that's why I'm saying that, is that wherever we're feeling we're lacking, it's never, it's never, if it's personality things or characteristics, it's never like unsurmountable. You've limited yourself by saying, I just don't do this, I just don't do that. And I do it all the time. It's very easy for us to just be like, well, this is what feels more natural to me. Part of the reason it feels more natural is because we haven't explored the other side as much. So it's an opportunity to do that, I think.
Yes. Wonderful points you have made. I'll just tag on a couple extra points to what you've already said. When you talked about that in these close, intimate relationships with each other, how we're often attracted to people who have a lot of polarized aspects of our aspects, and this is a form of soul retrieval. You and I talk a lot about, we're harmonizing with each other when we make some shifts in our behaviors and how we interact with each other. And really, at the fundamental level, we're just harmonizing in ourselves. And that we can trust that if we're attracted to someone else and some of their traits, that most likely there's some balancing and harmonizing in ourselves about those traits. So we talk about on this level that you and I are harmonizing in the relationship, and then on a deeper individual level, we're just harmonizing in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I'm learning to be more patient. I'm learning to be less linear. I'm learning to be a bit more flowy. All those things, you're probably learning a bit of the opposite.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, so like for a partnership like ours, especially when you have two people that are very intensely passionate about what they want to do, I guess is the best way to say it. Like they have a pretty good connection with how they feel. They're authentic. They're not going to say stuff that just makes you feel better. Right? Like they're not going to shift their beliefs a lot to make you feel better or more comfortable. They're not going to just change themselves for you. Just because you're a little uncomfortable with something. So because they're not really able to anymore. So they don't really function like that. And so these areas get highlighted and they become kind of like, they can be a little frustrating or a little challenging for the relationship, and if you're a partnership and if you're in a relationship like a romantic one and doing business like Tassel and I are, it's even more complicated. But you know, part of it is recognizing that that's what's happening um with your business partner. Like, they do stuff differently than you do. They want to do stuff, you may be doing stuff they want you to do differently, like other things like that. So, and when is it appropriate to say stuff, when is it, how do we do that, and there becomes a whole bunch of stuff there as far as learning. There's lots and lots of
There's
learning there.
so much growth. Oh my gosh,
um
it's amazing.
but try to let each other off the hook a little bit. Basically remember, the reason this bothers me is because I'm actually a little inspired by their ability to do this, if I'm really honest with myself. Like, for example, Tassel's planning type of orientation, she can be really, planning oriented. And I have trouble with that. So if ever she's talking about making plans, and she's get right into this plan phase, it's possible for me to feel like, oh, I don't want to do this really. But what I try to remember in those moments, if I feel any of that discomfort, which I don't feel a ton of it, and hopefully this doesn't bother Tassel at all that I'm sharing this, but
It doesn't bother me.
I sort of just sit with that for a second, and I'm like, well, this is an aspect of myself that I could do better in, right? Like, I try to see her a bit like that. She's sort of guiding me in this area. I used to be really good at that, and then it's like that side of me, I just shattered that side of me. I was like, oh my God, this false identity that I had was insane, and I just destroyed him, basically. And so the person that I was and the person that I became in a matter of like 7 days or so was totally different after my awakening. And so it's like I'm trying to relearn some of the aspects of myself that I used to be quite good in, but since have tossed aside like garbage, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
basically anything that associated with my old identity,
Yeah.
I was like, that didn't work. Like, get out
Mm-hmm.
of here.
Mm-hmm.
And but my only point is basically to look at your partner that way, or to look at the situations if you're sole proprietor. Look at these situations
Yes.
as they're bringing things in for
Yeah.
you to like consider, and just try to be honest. Like, could I do more planning? The answer is yes, right? That's the truth. The truth is that planning, I went a little far on the other way. I don't plan anything. And I like that better. But uh I'm with working with another person, and there are some considerations there around planning, especially when this other person enjoys planning. So I need to be able to plan a bit, at least, if only just to help make this thing that we're doing together more harmonious, a little less bumpy. That's good enough reason for myself. I always try to come back to thinking, like, how can I serve here? Like, is this an opportunity for me to serve the business? I think by me being embracing planning type practices a little bit more, that's a way that I can serve Tassel and myself and the business. And that really the rejection of it is because I don't like it that much. I don't naturally seem to like it as much. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I can't do it. Like, I don't have to oppose these things so regimentedly, or so, I can be a lot more flowy with it, and just try to take the signs from the universe that, oh, now it's time to do a bunch of planning. Tassel's got a calendar out, and we're gonna, right? Um,
Yes. Yes.
so
So it's just beautiful to have this self-awareness in your spiritual entrepreneurship. Just that larger perspective of what maybe whatever's coming in is something for me to possibly expand on. And you talked about the discipline of the personality and how you're learning, oh, I can choose to be in maybe this more businessy personality that does exist within me, or I can choose to be in a different aspect of my personality. And this is, maybe it's not quite related to this, but what I wanted to say around all of that is that I agree with you on the largest level. The success that I'm interested in is just my own expansion through our business. Yeah, it'd be great to have external success with the business for it to be successful as well. But the main aspect that's really important to me is, how am I showing up? How am I expanding? How am I looking at things? Am I coming from love? Am I open to shifting my ways of being that it seems that Spirit's inviting me to? And I posted this on Facebook yesterday, but I just love this idea that what if the definition of success is just the person that we are becoming?
Mm-hmm.
And, just, and everything else is a secondary aspect of
Yeah,
success.
that's how I see it. I mean, you can't take your money with you when you die.
Yep. The only thing we're taking is our consciousness.
So,
absolutely,
none of this stuff here really means that much
no,
in the scheme of things.
no,
As far as,
no.
relationships
It's
matter.
all temporary.
Yeah, I would say relationships are very important. They matter a lot, but
Yes.
the physical reality itself,
physical reality is obviously temporal.
it can feel very important, of course. And if it still feels very important, that's totally fine. But I think what I've noticed is, in the scheme of things, whether I'm in this house, that house, it's all, it's all more or less the same. And ultimately the goal is always the same, which is just evolution of consciousness. Some of us are aware that that's the goal, some aren't, and that's okay. It's nice to be able to view things from that lens. I find, though, I get challenged with just being really complacent, with sort of just allowing whatever comes and not being very proactive. So not being more of an agent of change.
Initiatory.
Yeah, and more initiatory with adjusting things, or being more motivated to act and bring about the change. And I think it ties back into this old deep fear that I think that is there around I'll probably do it wrong, or I'll do things incorrectly, or I'll mess it up or something. So it's like an easier way for me to just feel comfortable waiting. So it's like, as we progress spiritually and stuff, and start to become more, I guess, spiritually mature, I think we have whole new types of resistances that form, whole new just blocks of thought, and different things that come in as little obstacles and challenges. And this is one of them, where if everything's perfect and everything's great, and the purpose is my evolution, why am I trying to get money? Like, what does that have to do with anything? So for me, I can get a little like, why am I even doing this? Why am I selling stuff? That type of thing. Why don't I just work at a juice stand and then make YouTube videos? Because I still want to talk my thing, say my stuff, but if money is what I need, I don't have to go all into the business and do all the business stuff. I could just, I could just do anything. I do anything to make money. So I get all, and then because all of that is so amorphous, and like I could go whatever way I want, I have a tendency to just go, well, let's just see what happens. And sometimes sitting back and seeing what happens, nothing happens. So I only caution that I think we can get a little bit complacent with what is. And I think the best thing to do is to try to tune into what you truly want. And I don't really know what I want, and so I think that's part of the issue, is that I don't have a north star that I want to accomplish. I don't have any of that, uh, which means, what am I doing, right? And it ends up being a challenge for me because, I'm not speaking to ever to accomplish anything, and I'm not teaching to accomplish anything. Um, so then what am I doing, right? And so I we can get very very, like I said, like complacent, and just, um I think that's really the trick, though. I think to try and find a, like I think I said, north star, a what is, you have a goal of some kind, a goal that is like very hard to reach or unreachable, maybe. Something that, I don't know. The issue with me is I don't have a goal. I have no desire to. I have no goal other than to do my best. So as long as I'm doing that, I'm content. So, and then the other side of that is I don't judge myself if I show up a little poorly either. So I'm kind of like, it's all good. And it's a very peaceful place to be, but it can be, you can find yourself in stasis in different areas sometimes because it's fine. You know what I mean? So I think if you're anything like that, that probably the best thing to do would be to figure out the particular goals that you have. I think this is something that I'm going to try and figure out for myself is, even though I, like having a secondary goal, my first goal is to be as virtuously as I can always be that way. That's my goal, and then learn as much as I can doing that. But my secondary goal might be to, you know, I don't know. That's where I'm stuck. I teach people. I don't know.
um Very interesting. Yeah. And I have so many very specific goals, and I love setting goals, and I love checking off, oh, I made that one, I got that one. So it's just, we're really different in that aspect.
Oh, totally, totally. It's probably a little terrifying for Tassel to listen to me say that I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have any goals. Um, she's probably like, "What?" But it's just true that I just frame it like that. It doesn't mean I won't do stuff, and it doesn't mean that I'm not, you know, doing the same thing. It's just more like how it's framed is inside of me, I guess, is,
Yeah.
I have that overarching goal of just trying to be present and act virtuously and act consciously all the time. That's my goal. That's the only goal I could see. That goal, I think, truly, if we were to try and grade or value goals, that goal, I think, is the most valuable possible goal that any human can ever do. Um, by doing
I
that,
yes.
You'll touch so many lives with
Yes.
your kindness, compassion, and love. You'll be a radiant light in the world if you can manage to purify to a place where you can do that almost all the time. You're doing so much more of a service than like selling boats or whatever, right? Building a giant business and making a rocket ship and flying to Mars. You're doing
Well,
more with just if you're awakening the body, you've done more work, I think, than Elon with all of his stuff. Um,
yeah. And I think there, to me, there's a both and here, because for me too, my main goal is to show up in the highest and best, most loving version of myself and to be a light on the planet. Absolutely my overarching goal. And at the same time, there's also a lot of other more human goals I have too. And for me, at least, I don't see that there has to be any separation of that.
Oh
I
no, there
like
doesn't. Definitely
I
doesn't.
like
No.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like all of it.
Yeah.
I like the human goals and the more metaphysical
Totally doesn't have to be
goals.
separate at all. A lot of
Yeah.
people like have a very strong calling, like they'll say what we're saying about trying to embody, our best self. Um,
Yeah.
but then they'll have a very strong calling to do a particular type of work. Like Einstein comes to mind. Einstein was awakened and conscious and was like deeply invested in physics. Um, he saw physics as the most helpful possible thing that he could bring to the earth. So
Yes.
so he was very, focused in that area. But he was awakened and he was aware and all that. So there's nothing wrong with having these particular goals. I'm just saying that like I haven't found one. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, because I'm a teacher, or because I think of myself as a teacher. I think of myself as both a teacher and a student all the time simultaneously. Even when I'm teaching something, I'm learning. So I think of it like that. Ra calls it teach, learn, learn, teach. Um, but when I'm teaching, I'm in order for me to teach and be of polarized service, I'm not able to have an expectation of the student at all. Basically, that means that I speak, they do what they will with it. Either they ignore it, they accept it, and they get insight, or they hate it, they yell at me, or whatever it is. It's crucial for me to offer polarized service that I have no expectation of the result of my offering. So um, when I'm trying to teach, really I'm teaching to just to express.
Yeah.
Um,
Not with a particular
there's no goal,
goal. Yeah.
right? So and that's the closest thing that I can think of
Mm-hmm.
to being my goal is to be able to do that
Yeah.
freely as much as I
Yes.
want. And anything else is like just details. They're
Yeah.
like parameters and variables that make up the life. That's
Yes.
kind of how I see it. So I don't. Yeah, I
So
have trouble with goals, but that's something that
so
I think Tassel could probably help me with. So
so I think we've laid out about 10 guiding principles here. And then maybe we can just briefly finish up with what we see as strategies for success in spiritual entrepreneurship.
yeah, sure. I'm I don't know. I'm not sure what I would add to this to that. I saw a lot of those as strategies for success.
Yes,
Um,
yes, I would
but if there's
agree.
other ones that you want to add, maybe I'll think of something as you go.
Yeah. Um, I'll just say that, first of all, there will be no success unless you get started. So I just think, like, the first, to me, important step is just do something. If you want to start your own entrepreneurial business, just do something, get it started. There is no wrong action you can take. Anything you do will only lead to something else and lead to something else. So if you could be in sort of analysis paralysis, I don't know what to do, I'm not ready, am I good enough, just throw that all aside and just do something. Take one concrete action forward. um have faith that when you take an action, that you will be supported by the universe. The universe is like, oh, look at this person is taking this action, we're going to come in. The universe is always matching us, always matching us. So when we take an action, the universe is there to support us. um So do something, take an action, uh, have this orientation of constant self-awareness, constant self-reflection. Uh, am I resisting doing something here? Why am I resisting it? What's the limiting belief? What's going on within me? Ask yourself these questions. There will always be answers. Another thing I would say, I say this all the time, show me the way. Spirit, show me the way. Whatever you're trying to do in your business, ask for assistance on the other side. I say this all day long. Show me the way. The answers always come in. Um, if you're in a partnership or a group of people, play to each other's strengths. Everyone is not going to be good at everything, and blanket of grace for everybody. And really just try to leverage, oh, this person's really good at this. This person's really good at this. And just build people up.
Yeah, and just to add to that, trying to trust that although you may not know what they're doing, they know what they're doing, right? They have the eternal, infinite wisdom that you also have connected to through their higher self. Like they're also guided, especially if you're both spiritual and stuff. So, even though what they're maybe doing may not feel right, um, they're doing it for a reason, and it may be worth saying something, but obviously use your discernment, but um, trying to like trust them that it's going to be okay, um, instead of getting all worked up that these people aren't meeting exactly what I wanted or what I visioned, and what I visioned is the right thing, and they're not doing it. That can be a little challenging, um, because we have to sort of let go of what our vision is, and just hold our try to hold it more for just us, right? My vision is that I will do these things, and then these people will hopefully do whatever they're doing. But hopefully it'll all come together. And if it's done from a place of harmony and stuff, you know, it will. I think it will come together.
Yes, yes. And the last thing I'll quickly say is that for me, Spirit, God is my CEO. I am really just following my guidance in everything I do, in my business, in my personal life. And it's very comforting to think of it that way, that Spirit is in charge, and I can talk to Spirit. I can ask Spirit for help. The ideas that are flowing through me, I see them, they're Spirit's ideas. And so Spirit is my CEO. What a
Yeah,
great, like the best CEO to have.
yeah,
All right. That's all I got.
yeah. I think that's great. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you like the stream, click the like button. It helps out the channel, or consider subscribing. And then we also have our Patreon community, links down below if you want to join that, and join us for some courses and stuff. We offer courses to the $30 members, and then the recordings are to the $15 members as well. So we appreciate your
Yeah, and
time.
I think it's good to mention, yeah, and there's even a $5 membership,
Right.
which gets you free access to our videos and part of our Facebook and Discord community. And I also want to say that if what we've been talking about resonates with you, and you're possibly interested in joining us in our work, please let us know, because
Right.
we are expanding our company, our work, and we'd love to have people who are aligned with these orientations.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks everyone.
All
Take
right.
care.
So much love to everybody. Bye.
Bye.